Have you ever scrolled through your contacts and realized you haven't reached out to anyone for months? Or maybe there was a day when you just quietly stopped checking your phone. No more group chats, no more happy birthday texts, no invitations filling up your weekends. But here's the shocking part. You didn't miss any of it. Does that feeling sound familiar to you? You might think this is something only a few people experience. But the truth is, cutting everyone off isn't as rare or as mysterious as you think. In fact, the real reason some people cut ties with everyone might just blow your mind. If you want more insights into the psychology of growth, resilience, and transformation, make sure you subscribe to the Growth Mindset Project and ring the bell so you never miss a video that could change your life. So, why do some people disappear from everyone's lives? Why do they become the cold one, the person others whisper about at parties when they're not in the room? It almost never starts as a plan. You don't wake up one day and decide to leave everyone behind. It's a process, a slow fade. Maybe it begins with one ignored message, then one declined hangout, then another and another, until finally, you simply stop pretending. You stop explaining. You stop being present for people who were never truly present for you. We call this, at its core, self-preservation. People don't see what's happening underneath. Maybe they think you changed, or that you're isolating out of spite. But they don't understand. You were already lonely long before you started closing those doors. You were the one who remembered every birthday, the friend who showed up at 2 a.m., who drove across town when someone needed you. You gave and gave, not expecting much, but hoping maybe that someone would show up for you the way you did for them. But one day, you have your own crisis. You reach out and are met with silence. Maybe a "sorry to hear that" text, or an empty promise to call back. You find yourself alone, not for the first time, but this time, you realize you've been alone throughout all of it. That's the moment everything changes. Suddenly, every interaction becomes a calculation. How much energy does this take? Am I truly receiving anything in return? The math stops adding up. You stop pouring into cups that are never satisfied, and for the first time you start saving a little for yourself. When you stop reaching out, people notice. When you stop texting first, when you start declining invitations, people talk. You're different, you're cold, but what they don't see is that your self-preservation is kicking in. The old version of you, the one who said yes to everything, who sacrificed energy, time, and emotional currency for scraps of connection, couldn't survive anymore. Your nervous system knew it before your conscious mind did. It learned. Every time you got close, every time you trusted someone, the ending was always the same. You were left to pick up the pieces, alone. Is it cynicism? Not really. It's just data, collected through a lifetime of disappointment. So you control the only thing left, your exit. You decide to cut people off, not with drama, but with silence. Abandonment hurts less when it's on your own terms. At the 3-minute mark, take a second to like this video if you're finding it eye-opening, or comment below. Have you ever felt the urge to disconnect for your own well-being? Your story might resonate more than you think. Back to the story. Many call this self-sabotage, but that's not what it is. This is the logic of self-preservation. There's no need for explosive confrontations or dramatic goodbyes. It's just the slow fade. Maybe you don't answer texts. Maybe you stop showing up. Maybe you move cities quietly or erase your social media presence. Sometimes it's abrupt, sometimes it's gradual. But either way, you're gone. When you run into someone from your past, the conversation is polite, even friendly. But beneath the surface, you both know you were never truly close. You realize you spent years performing, giving, showing up in a way that was never reciprocated, and when you had nothing left, there was no one there. The loneliness that drove your decision wasn't about being physically alone, but about finally letting your reality match your feelings. You don't cut people off because you hate them. In fact, You don't feel much toward them at all. They want explanations and closure, but you've spent a lifetime not being heard. Why open up old wounds for people who never really listened? And what's surprising is, solitude isn't as devastating as you feared. At first, it's just quiet. No flashing notifications, no group plans, no birthday wishes. Eventually, that quiet turns into peace. It becomes your favorite sound. The origin of this pattern usually goes way back, deep into childhood. Maybe you grew up with parents who were physically present but emotionally absent. Maybe you learned that asking for support was too much, that your feelings were burdensome. Maybe you learned to handle it all alone because every attempt at vulnerability resulted in rejection, indifference, or being labeled too sensitive. Other kids have it worse. Don't make such a fuss. That's nice, honey. It wasn't just accidental. Your brain, still trying to make sense of the world, took these lessons and branded them as truth. Needing people is risky. Depending on someone means risking abandonment. Love isn't safe. Support isn't available. The blueprint was set before you even realized it, so you adapted. Independence became your survival mode, not out of desire, but out of necessity. You stopped asking for help. You stopped celebrating out loud. You shrank to fit. Every adult relationship just reinforced it. If you let someone in, eventually you're back on your own. Every act of trust, of openness, became a risk you couldn't afford. So when you finally started cutting people off, it wasn't coldness, it was consistency. Consistency with everything life had already taught you about relationships. 6 minutes in, don't forget to hit like, and if you haven't already, join our community by subscribing and tell us in the comments. What's your experience with self-preservation? Let's look closer. The accusations sting. You're too guarded. You don't let anyone in. But those who have lived through the cycle know the effort was always there. You tried to trust. You tried to give people another chance. Every time you hoped it would be different, the pattern repeated. You showed up in their crises, adjusted your life for their emergencies, only for your own pain to be met with silence, excuses, or avoidance. The cost became too high. You started doing the emotional math. How many times did you reach out first? How often were your conversations about their world, their problems? How frequently did you cancel your life to be there, only for your needs to be brushed aside? You realized you weren't in relationships but in agreements where you did all the emotional labor, all the performing, all the hoping. To outsiders, it looks like you've chosen isolation. But for someone choosing self-preservation, solitude isn't about hating people. It's about protecting what little trust or hope you have left, refusing to waste it in relationships that drain rather than fill. You learn to detect the red flags instantly, the one-sided conversations, the friends who pop up only when they need something, the acquaintances who vanish when things get real. You see the warning signs before the inevitable fade out. So now, when it starts, you cut the thread short. Not dramatically, just quietly. This is not giving up on people. It's refusing to accept less than real connection, less than mutual care, less than what you deserve. People misunderstand, thinking you built walls when you've actually built boundaries. Boundaries are about keeping the wrong ones out until, maybe, you find someone worthy of letting in. The deepest loneliness didn't come after cutting everyone off. It came before, being surrounded by people and feeling invisible. Needing someone and being chastised for being too much or not enough. The absence of fake connection was freedom, not punishment. You look at old photos, see the memories of those nights out, and realize you don't miss those people. You miss the you who still believed those connections mattered. You didn't cut people off to spite anyone. You did it to save yourself. To step toward a life where you're not always bracing for the next letdown. to choose the peace of your own presence over the chaos of conditional relationships. Perhaps someday you'll find a connection that feels safe, a space where trust isn't a gamble. But for now, you protect the tiny hope that better is possible, making sure it isn't extinguished by yet another disappointment. So if you're someone who's walked away from everyone, know this: you're not broken, you're not cold, you're acting in self-preservation, listening to what your heart and mind have been asking you for years. Enough pretending. Enough accepting less than you deserve. Enough breaking yourself into smaller pieces to fit into places that were never meant for you. At the end of the day, walking away isn't weakness. It's courage. Choosing yourself for the first time after years of looking for validation in empty places. They might whisper, judge, or misunderstand, but the quiet that follows, that's freedom. If this resonated with you, don't forget to explore our other videos on growth, healing, and self-discovery. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss out. Your journey towards self-preservation and authentic connection starts here, and we're with you every step of the way.